Am I an idiot for telling my neighbor to keep her baby quiet or get out? So I, female 28, live in a terrace house, which is pretty typical here in the UK. Next door was initially empty when I moved in due to some work that was going on, but about 6 weeks ago a couple moved in with their baby. I say hi in passing to them and exchange a few pleasantries with them, but for the most part it's a polite neighbor relationship. We aren't friends. I live alone and am a quiet neighbor. However, next door isn't. I hear everything. I don't know what the owners did when they were renovating, but there is no sound insulation at all. I don't hear conversations at a normal level, but that's it. It's terrace housing, and I accept you will hear some things, but it's crazy how much I can hear. I don't hear anything from my neighbor on the other side of me aside from the front door when I'm in my front room. On to the issue. The baby, because it's a baby, cries a lot. But it's nearly constantly crying and sometimes screams crying nearly all day. And I mean all day. I put up with this most of the time and wear headphones a lot. Aside from that, I work 2 days a week from home, which they know as I have taken in packages for them. And my job requires me to be on the phone nearly all the time, in Zoom meetings, etc. I work in the back bedroom upstairs as it's the only room I don't get any road noise in, which by the sounds of it is also the baby's room on the other side of the wall. It cries so loudly I can hear it like it's in the room with me, and clients and colleagues can hear it crying through my headphones, and I'm getting lots of comments from people about it. It's also very distracting for me to try and work with. Yesterday after work, I knocked on the door to explain what was happening and asked if it was at all possible that if the baby can't be calmed down to move them to a different room for a bit because of the noise, etc. I was very polite about it and apologetic. Well, the mother exploded at me, swore at me, called me entitled and selfish, and that I had no idea what it was like to be a mother and how hard it was, and she said she left the baby upstairs so she could go down and have a break from crying, then slammed the door in my face. I feel really conflicted on this because I know babies cry. I know they are difficult to settle, and I imagine with all the crying they are really tired. But I make little to no noise as their neighbor, and it's affecting my concentration work, and people are commenting on it and not in a good way. Was I TA for asking? Edit. I only work 2 days a week because I'm also at university, so I don't have an office to go into the rest of the time. The job is strictly work from home. I also can't do the job anywhere else because I work in a section of banking. I have to have a wired connection to the internet at all times, no Wi-Fi. And the conversations that I have are sensitive and private, so they can't be done elsewhere like Starbucks or a library like some recommended. I am not complaining about the baby crying in general. As I said in the post, I know they cry. I'm not complaining about being woken up early on weekends in the evening when trying to cook or relax, or being disturbed while studying, which I am. This is specifically about the 2 days I am working from home. Looks like I'm investing in an expensive pair of noise-canceling headphones with a push-to-talk button. Edit 2. As it keeps coming up, I own their rent. These are terrace houses, not an apartment complex. No, I can't afford to buy a detached house, a girl can dream. The dad came round this evening. He apologized for his fiancée yelling and swearing at me. Apparently she is struggling with PPD and it's a difficult time for her. As a lot of others suggested, the baby has colic. Long story short, I explained to him I wasn't asking them to stop the baby crying, just if there was anything that could be done on the days I was working from home, etc. He said it couldn't be that bad, so I offered for him to come in and hear what it was like. The baby was upstairs crying again and we were downstairs and it was still very loud. He was surprised it was that loud. They genuinely didn't realize the sound was coming through like that. He apologized for the noise, but both agreed nothing could be done about the crying. He said he would talk to his fiancée about having the baby in a different room when I'm working from home, but didn't know if anything would come from it. Turns out we are both fans of Rise Against, so at least we have some common ground now. As good an outcome as I could hope for, I suppose. No idiots here. No one is the AH here. We all want to have a peaceful life and feel comfortable in our own homes. Equally, babies can be tricky, especially during teething, etc., and will cry themselves to sleep. The thing to remember is that kids grow up and will make even more noise. I would recommend soundproofing your walls if the noise becomes more problematic. Not an idiot. And am surprised by all the contrary responses. Of course, babies are going to cry and there's nothing she can do about that. But I don't think it's unreasonable to try to find an accommodation that works for both of you, and moving the baby to another room during the day is just that. You approached her politely, and I don't really think you are in the wrong here. Now, for the next story. Am I an idiot for refusing to drive my son's friend because he kept farting in my car? The other day I was driving my son, male 14, and his friend who lives nearby to soccer practice. They usually take the bus, but sometimes I will drive them before work. As I was driving, I heard a loud fart coming from my son's friend, followed by laughter from both of them. Apparently, he is doing it at least partly on purpose, because they have a dumb, farting joke they think is funny. He even pulled his legs up before he farted to demonstrate he was doing it on purpose. I told them point blank this was not funny at all, and asked my son's friend to not do that again in my car. Few minutes later, he farted again and busted out laughing. My son had a smirk on his face but was trying to hold back his laughter because he knew I asked him not to. At this point, I pulled over to the nearest bus stop. We live in Europe, so we have great public transport, and told my son's friend he will have to travel the rest of the distance by bus. Later, my son told me he was embarrassed in front of his friend and thinks I treated him a bit too harshly. Apparently, the kid was also late for practice and the coach scolded him. So, am I an idiot here? Edit. Just to clear some things up, I didn't just leave the kid on the side of the road. I left him at the nearest bus stop to take the bus he usually takes to practice. I am also a dad. From the comments, most people think that I am the mother LOL. Not an idiot. I was tempted to vote the opposite because you maybe should have finished that ride, but never given him a ride again. But you did ask him not to. Not sure what kind of household he comes from, but that is highly disrespectful in my opinion. Not the specific act, but the way he went about everything. He learned a lesson that day, not an idiot. If he can't be trusted to do as he's told, it isn't safe to have him in your car. He was safe to get to practice, and he experienced the consequences of treating other people's property and helping poorly. I'd take him again next time and see how his behavior has changed. He deserves an opportunity to learn and demonstrate changed behavior. Now, for the next story. Am I an idiot for crashing a party and expecting the hosts to pay? My family and I, 30 female, moved into our apartment about a year ago, and I became friends with our neighbor Glenda, F42. Glenda has a daughter, Sandra, 19 female, and a granddaughter who doesn't live with her. I've met them both, but have never had much interaction with them as they visit while I'm at work. A week ago, Glenda texted me a picture of an invitation to her granddaughter's first birthday, with instructions to RSVP to Sandra. I replied saying my son, 6, would be beyond excited to attend, and asked if I could RSVP with her or Sandra as I didn't know her number. Her only reply was, "Can't wait to see you there," and I assumed she would take care of the RSVP. The day of the party, my son excitedly helped me fill a birthday basket for the baby, and when we arrived at Chuck E. Cheese for the party, Glenda was immediately excited to see us. Sandra, on the other hand, seemed less than thrilled we were there. She didn't even greet us. Every time we were around her, she'd roll her eyes and whisper to other guests who would immediately give us dirty looks, and we were ignored by almost everyone. When I asked Glenda how to get an arcade card for my son, she told me Sandra had them. When Sandra told me she ran out, I went to purchase one on my own, but Glenda told me not to, that her daughter would get more. My son was so sweet and patient, but was kind of sad watching all the kids play when he was unable to. Sadly, Glenda had to go to work. She left, and it got worse. We were moved to the end of the table by ourselves. Our food was thrown out whenever we stepped away, and we were not informed about present time, so my son missed watching the baby open his gift. Then when the goodie bags were handed out, my son was skipped over, then was told, "Sorry, there is no more," when I watched as the extras were handed out to the adults. Thankfully, a kind teen gave him hers. Finally, my son was given a play card for the last 30 minutes of a 2-hour party. Despite all of this, my amazing son attempted to approach Sandra at the end of the party to thank her, and I watched as she literally ran away and tried to avoid him. My mommy heart broke, and I didn't know if I wanted to cry or scream. My husband said it was obvious Glenda invited us without Sandra's permission, and that we should have just left because we obviously weren't wanted. But we bought a gift, and I couldn't drag my son away from a party he'd received an invitation to. So honestly, am I the bad apple? Edit. I would not have stayed if my son was visibly upset or if he had asked me to leave. My son was treated well by the younger ages 3, 9, kids who interacted with him for the most part. Though the other instances bothered him, he wanted to stay, and it's not like I made him sit at the table when he didn't have a card. He played with the interactive screens and jungle gym. Edit 2. To clarify, the invitation said RSVP with Sandra and did not include a phone number or email, hence why I told Glenda I did not know Sandra's number. I had also received a second revised invitation with a change in location. Edit 3. It was not immediately clear the reason for the mistreatment was that we had not been invited. I had initially thought I had done something else wrong. We are also of a different race and religion than everyone else that was there, so I thought maybe other guests were uncomfortable. So for those of you asking, no, it wasn't obvious until later. Everyone sucks here. You were told to RSVP to Sandra and didn't. You let your son sit there and didn't get him a game card when it was clear none were coming his way, and you stayed when you clearly weren't welcome. Glenda seems to have had no business inviting you, and her daughter was rude. You're an idiot. Not for going, but for staying when it was clear you hadn't actually been invited because your son was having fun. That's rude. Glenda told you not to buy a play card because her daughter had them right there. That was her screwing with her daughter, trying to force her to accept this. You should have at least moved somewhere else in the restaurant. Now, for the next story. Would I be an idiot if I chose to go to my dream university, knowing it will likely affect my younger sibling in the future? I recently got into my dream university. I don't want to take names, but it's in the top 5 in the world and something I worked incredibly hard towards. However, it is supremely expensive and unaffordable for my parents. They're willing to take student loans to pay for it, but that would require mortgaging and using the house as collateral. My younger sibling will be applying for college in 2 years, and with their grades and profile, it is very unlikely they will get into a top school that offers financial aid. My parents have made it clear to me that they will not be able to put up the house as collateral to fund my siblings' education and student loans, then look to be out of the question. My younger siblings desperately want to leave the country and will be incredibly unhappy if they won't be able to go abroad and have to study here. I both have an offer from a top national university. Still, it really doesn't compare to my dream university, and I am likely to get admission into a top college globally with financial aid that would make it very affordable and allow my parents to take out student loans for my sibling when his time comes. However, I truly don't want to go anywhere besides my dream university, despite knowing that it will put stress and pressure on the family and significantly impact my sibling in a couple of years. Would I be an idiot if I chose to go to my dream university? Edit. To add info, I did not ask my parents to put the house as collateral. If I could secure a loan without that, I would take that option in a heartbeat. They offered to do this of their own volition. Edit. While I understand and agree with a lot of points in the comment section, I want to make one thing clear. There is a very West-dominant viewpoint here. People in other countries don't have access to sufficient education loans with collateral. We don't have the ability to take out loans on our own or to find jobs that'll pay enough. This is often our only option to ever leave the country, and we simply do not get loans without collateral. Also, my sister will not be left without options. She can be sent to any university in our country, and she won't be applying to the UK, so she's got the same deal as me for the USA. Get into a college that gives financial aid, and you can go. Parents will fund everything else. You're an idiot if you accepted the money knowing the implications for your sister. Info. Have you considered taking out loans for the school on your own? There's no reason your parents need to support your college dreams. You can do that on your own without affecting both your parents and sister. Your parents are definitely TA. You're an idiot. You and your family are in no financial position to afford this, and it could ruin your family's situation more if anything goes wrong or changes. You also set your sibling up for failure. That's incredibly selfish of you when you have other schools to choose from. Now for the next story. Am I an idiot for not giving up anything for someone who wasn't willing to give up anything for me? My 24 male parents passed away when I was very young. I have 3 siblings, a sister, and 2 brothers. All of them are much older than me. After my parents passed away, I wanted to live with either my sister or my second brother, but both of them made it very clear that they didn't want me. I didn't want to go with my oldest brother because he is our half-brother, and I wasn't close to him and he lived in another city, away from all my friends and the rest of our family, but he was the only one who wanted me, so I went with him. Unlike what I thought, my oldest brother is actually awesome, and I had a very good life. I still live with him. My other siblings didn't even bother to call much. This was just a short background that I thought might be relevant. Recently, my second brother lost everything. I don't know or care about what happened. All I know is he is in a very bad condition. My sister left the country a few years ago, so my oldest brother is the only one who can help him. A few days ago, my oldest brother told us my brother and his family, wife and sons 11 and 17, want to move in with us for a while because they have no other option. His wife doesn't have a family. We live in a 5-bedroom house. My brother's room, my room, his daughter's room, his son's room, and our gaming room. So we have the space for them to move in. My brother said he doesn't want to force us to give up our space and wants us to figure out something that works for us. My nephew said he is fine with giving up the gaming room or sharing for a short time, but I said screw them. I'm not sharing or giving up anything for them, and my niece does what I say, so she is on my side. My brother said he is a bit disappointed but won't force us to do anything. However, my second brother and his wife think we are selfish assholes. You're the idiot. Not because of not giving a damn about the brother who clearly didn't give a damn about you. You are an idiot because you are interfering with your HB doing for your other brother exactly what he did for you. Helping out when help is needed. As you said, your HB is an awesome person and the type who helps families when they need it. No idiots here. I struggle to call anyone an AH here. You were 10 and your entire life was turned upside down. I'm sorry, and can't imagine how hard that would be. But the reality is you likely don't know the full circumstances and what all went into that decision, and maybe never will. It sounds like you've had a decent life since then. There's a very real chance that you would not have had that if one of the other siblings took you in.